Welcome to Beyond Politics. This is a production of Spokane Talks Media that was first proposed by and sponsored by Mike Gavarecci, who is a local Spokane businessman and contractor. He'll speak at the end of the whole event. But we are here today because of his concern, and I think our shared concern over how partisan politics has gotten. And we really want to focus tonight on looking to the future and focus on what we would like to be driving towards, not dismissing the fact that there are things we fear might happen, but what we're trying to drive towards. And that's the inspiration between this series. My name is Sulani Madsen. I'm a regular host for programs on Spokane Talks Media. I'm going to introduce our 8 panelists now. We have, starting here around to the left, Mike McLaughlin, who is here from the Spokane County Auditor's Office. He is the elections manager. Jerry Gemmel, who's a former Spokane County CEO. Scott Hutzel, Lincoln County Commissioner and a past president of WASAC, the Washington State County Association of Counties. Next to him is Mike Sensky, who is a West Plains business owner with Pearson Packaging Systems. And next we have Kate McCaslin, who's a former Spokane County Commissioner, and Randy Empman from Empman Brothers, running a large multi-generational farm and ranch operation in South Spokane County. And then Representative Marcus Riccelli is joining us tonight, and he has a role to play in how we got here. We'll have a little bit of that history in a minute. On screen, we've got former County Commissioner Bonnie Major joining us virtually. She couldn't make it into our setting here in the Catalyst building, hosted by Eastern Washington University, and we really appreciate their hospitality. I have a brief timeline of how we got here. A lot of people don't pay a lot of attention to a county government. We're kind of used to there's 3 county commissioners and they do something. Spokane County is now going to have 5. A little bit of how we got here. In 2015, Spokane County voters rejected a move to 5 commissioners. There was some bipartisan opposition. Lots of people had different reasons, whatever. We're past that. And 2018, there was a House bill that Representative Riccelli sponsored that requires 5 commissioners for a county that's as large as Spokane County and to be elected solely by district. And so that's why we're making this move. There was a House bill and legislation that was passed. In 2020, there was an unsuccessful court challenge of that bill, because I think we've all gotten used to bills have to go to the court before some people sometimes believe them. That was brought by the Washington State Association of Counties, because county commissioners sort of felt like they were being usurped. But now that was, the Supreme Court has decided that it's constitutional, everything's in order, we want to go on from here. Which means in 2022, by the end of the week that ends in May 20th, we will have filing done for 5 county commissioner slots to be elected by districts rather than county-wide. And in the past, there have been 3 that first ran within a district, but then were voted on it by the county as a whole. So this is a big change, really. They're going to be specifically tied to a specific geographic area. And that's a difference. So given that bit of history, and this is where we are now, I asked Representative Riccelli to give us a little chat about what were the hopes to gain from this. And so let's talk about what we hope for the future. Take it away, Marcus.
Really appreciate the opportunity to be here tonight and talk a little bit about, the initial hopes were that district representation could bring representation closer to the people, and people would feel like they would have a more direct voice in government. We're a growing county, and the idea was that we matched our government with our growing populations. For larger counties like Spokane, we were looking at some of our peer counties that are our size or larger, and their form of government. I think another thing that brought us in our hope was that basically the district elections, there was some frustration too that folks were feeling disenfranchised, that you wouldn't necessarily be able to participate if you were outside that district in a primary, but you were voting countywide. And so some of the hopes were to really put that district in place so that it was very clear, and you could have a say in who would come out of the primary, even if you weren't in that district. That didn't work out, but now with district elections, we solved that. We have philosophical and political diversity, and I think this moves us towards kind of the best interest of our county to kind of have broader representation Some of my colleagues talked about their concerns, and so I don't know if I would put it as a hope, but they didn't want to see lawsuits related to the Voting Rights Act and other things that were brought concerned. And you talked about it's not every bill that gets taken to court, but and it's the only bill that I've ever authored that's been taken to court. But I will say it was an interesting constitutional question that was brought forward, and I think the results kind of close the books on that discussion, so we can now move forward. A robust democracy can only exist with an active and engaged citizenry. That's something I learned from the League of Women Voters, and I think this really does bring that voice closer to the people. I'm interested too, one of the things, I think the hopes is that two commissioners can now have a conversation, much like we do in Olympia, to solve problems where, there's some concern sometimes that they can't do that with open public meeting rules, and you can't just solve issues. That's a really important part, those relationships and those conversations, and I'm actually excited for that. I was pushed back actually from the left, who was really concerned about that because they thought, they were throwing some, concerns that, well, nothing that the commissioners could be doing is good, so we want it, all in public meetings. And I really think a lot of problems can get solved when people can have those side conversations and build those relationships. So that's part of the hopes and dreams. And then at the end of the day,